and welcome to this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy.
Thank you for joining us. This episode is sponsored by Alias Services. They pay well with jobs that they don't necessarily recommend you put on your resume, and that's all they can say about that. If you use an alias and have the skill set that they need, then you already know where to find them. And if you don't, then this ad wasn't for you. As a matter of fact, just forget you ever heard it. Tammy, you're gonna have to do a better job of screening our sponsors, okay?
Oh, that's all you, Eddie. That is all you.
You're gonna have to change that if the check
I
clears
feel like
policy.
I feel like some of these companies, like, we getting more and more criminal-esque as we continue on in this podcast. Okay, I'm gonna need you to start working on making sure that these companies are illegally attaining their funds.
I know. I don't need the feds raiding me like I'm part of Trump's inner circle or something.
Touche.
All right. This week's episode, we attempt to pull off the biggest bank job in Korean history with Money Heist Korea Joint Economic Area, which is the Korean remake of Netflix's original runaway hit Money Heist. In this version, we have 8 thieves that are brought together to rob the unified Korean mint of $4 trillion. And along the way, they must deal with scheming hostages, police desperate to end this hostage standoff, all while trying to sway the public opinion to their side. So, Tammy, what did you think of Money Heist Korea? Did they pull it off according to the professor's well executed plan, or did it blow up in their faces?
Is that like a spoiler alert early on kind of thing? Like, if I answer that question, it's kind of like spoiler alert, like really early in the episode, right?
Not really. Did you think it? Okay. Was it?
Was it good? Did I enjoy it or not?
Yes.
I got it. It was good. Like, it was getting there. There's some parts that really held my interest. There's some parts where I was just like, eh. But yeah, like, it's a work in progress because this is only part 1. So I would love to see like how part 2 goes along, since this one ended on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, that was the thing with the original Money Heist. It was one of those shows that you love it or you hate it. It's a slow burn in the beginning, and then it picks up because a lot of it, especially the original, was backstory heavy and introducing you to the characters and stuff like that. So, having said that, this one is probably a little bit easier to follow. And it's been a while since I've watched the original Money Heist, but this one is probably a little bit easier to follow. And it still has some of the slow burn quality. So, being a fan of the original series, I was kind of skeptical, even as much as I love K dramas, especially considering I think the original hadn't officially ended when Netflix announced that they were going to do a Korean version. And part of me thought, oh, they're just trying to capitalize on the drama, on the popularity of K dramas. And I really wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but I think it lived up to the promise. And in some ways, I liked it a little bit better than the original. And I'm with you. There are some parts, like I said, it kind of has that slow burn quality to it in the beginning. So there are some parts where you're like, eh. But I really did love how it kept original elements of the OG series, and it fused enough of it to kind of create its own identity. So that I did love. I also liked, one of the things I really liked about this, and that is how they used the flashbacks just enough to kind of tell the story, to give you a backstory on the characters, on that episode central character, the person who's going to pay the who's going to probably play the biggest part in the episode, even though it was an ensemble. So that's telling technique in the way that they used it. And this one is, like you said, this is part 1, spoiler. So it does end on a cliffhanger. And part 2 is going to come out later on this year. So probably in the get the rest of the episodes. It's a little bit shorter than your typical. Well, I guess the runtime is about the same. The episodes were what, about 75 minutes?
Yeah, they were over an hour.
Yeah, for me, that part, they probably could have gone a little bit shorter in the episodes. Some of them dragged out a little bit. But who was your favorite character? Like, did you have a favorite character that you like?
Um, I did not. So what I will say is that I would be one of those people, if I wasn't like so into my K drama phase, because I think that they do amazing storylines. I love the fact that it's one season, 16 episodes, and then they're done. And they have great acting. I mean, other countries do too, because I watch shows from all over the world. But so I was interested in this just because I know we've talked about Money Heist before, the Spanish version from Spain, and I've never watched an episode. No, let me not say I'm lying. I tried to watch the first episode and I couldn't get into it, and I knew like it wasn't my type of show. But when I saw that Korea was going to do their own version, Netflix was doing the Korean version, I was just like, okay, I gotta watch this just because I'm just so into like those shows. And I will say, if I wasn't so into K dramas, I would not watch this show. This would have been one of the K dramas that I would have bypassed. And not to say that it's not good, not to say that the acting is not phenomenal, but it's just not my type of show. Like, it can't fully hold my interest, except for the fact that we were reviewing it. So I had to, like, completely get through it. So I didn't have a favorite character to answer your question.
Like, you didn't even watch to with the mindset of, okay, let me see what I like about it.
I did. I watched it to see what I liked about it, and I can't name a favorite character. Like, there's not a character that stood out for me where I was just like, okay, I'm following their storyline. I'm fully invested in them. Like, there was not a character where I'm fully invested in them. I could tell you characters that I absolutely hated. I could tell you characters that I wanted to punch in the face. I could tell you characters that served their purpose very, very well. And I understood what they were trying to do. And like, I got it. But to say if I had a favorite character, if I was invested in any of the characters, I am going to be honest. I was not invested in any of the characters. How their storyline goes. I was just following the whole entire show and what the show was about. But to say I was really invested in one character, I was not. I'm going to be honest. I was not. No character grabbed my interest. Except for like
Hmm.
if they were really good looking, I'm gonna be like, okay, you cute. But other than you being cute, I don't care. I'm sorry. Like, and I tried so hard because I'm fully in this world. But yeah, no. It didn't grab me. Like, this is not my type of show. And I know that. And so I'm gonna be honest and acknowledge that. It's not my type of show. Not to say it's not a good show, but it's back to what you said first. It's either you love it or you hate it. I don't necessarily hate it, but I definitely don't love it.
Yeah. Because I recommended to a friend, and I told them, we were just talking about what we were covering for this week, and I was like, Money Heist, and they're like, oh, and I said the Korean version, they're like, oh. I tried to watch the original version, and I couldn't get into it, and so, like I said, I get it. It's a slow burn, and it does go back to one of the things, love it or hate it, and I think probably just talking from you, it's probably going to be in some of the other stuff I read about the Korean version. It's probably that same feel for a lot of people, even with this show, because like I said, it does take a lot of elements from the original show. Okay, so what you said about character is great, and I have a lot of that in there. So you don't have a favorite character. I have a favorite character. I love the professor. I do. I think every team needs that kind of mastermind, someone who could just break it down. And we're going to get into talk about him in a bit. Um, I understand Tokyo was the lead character and the narrator, and so therefore you're automatically supposed to be drawn to her. I like her. I love kick-ass, badass women as leads in shows, and I love her in that aspect. Um, and I liked Denver. He's not as big of an idiot as he seems, and Okay, did you add Denver to your really cute list? Because Denver is sexy. Like
He was
the actor who
okay. So
plays.
yes, he's a model. He was a model first, and I think this is one of his first acting roles. But
Well,
he's originally a model, so he's really good looking.
he's really good looking. I love, and you know how I feel about a man with long hair. I love the
Yeah.
long hair. I love the look. He's doing a great job. Like I couldn't really tell that this was his first acting job. Um, and I know in K dramas because of the turnover of the drama, like it's usually just one season, 16 episodes, which because they're so long would probably end up being like 2 seasons, maybe 2 or 3 seasons for one of our shows because of how they do it once you break down the time or whatever. Then you have a lot of turnover from show to show, especially with their really popular actors. So I know names anyway. So I know a lot of the people in here in this particular drama are people that we've seen in other shows. Like the professor looked really familiar. And I know the negotiator, she's also been in other shows that we've watched or just watched. But I love Denver. Like I said, he wasn't as dumb as he came across. The whole Stockholm syndrome thing is really real. Like I do like the slow burn in the nature. Understand and like I just said, go back to me being horrible with names. So I named the hostage Moon. I know that's not her real name,
It's
but
me, son.
I was close. I knew it would start with an M. I'm getting better. Um, the whole, I like how it developed with me, son. You kind of saw it coming, but you kind of understood where it's coming from, especially considering, um, and son's taste in men. If she goes from her original love interest to the thief who shot her in the bank,
Technically, she told him to shoot her.
I know, but still, so it says a lot. We can talk about that. But my absolute favorite character, and this probably says a lot about me and my own psyche. I love Denver. I mean, not Denver, Berlin. Like Berlin is my dude. Like I think there are two types of people every team balance it out. And Berlin said it and Denver said it perfectly. I mean, I keep messing up these names. Berlin said it perfectly when he was talking to the professor. I'm going to be the shadow so you can be the light. So you always need one of those bad cops, and like this is the professor's plan. The professor is the brains behind the operation, and Berlin, he's the dude that was going to come in and do the dirty work. Like I love him. He was like my favorite character. So yeah. Who is your least favorite? So since you said, I know specifically you said you had a least favorite. So who are your least favorites?
Cho Youngmin, the director of The Mint. Anne. I did not like the teenage girl, the daughter of the U.S. ambassador. I did
Yes.
not like her. Sun Woo Jin, which is the negotiator, the woman. Oslo and Helsinki, although they don't really have a purpose except for being like the strong men, but
The
I don't like
Brawn.
them either. Huh?
I said the Brawn.
Yeah. Yeah, those would be like my least favorite characters of the show so far.
Yeah, I know the professor has a no kill policy, but that the teenage girl, the daughter of the ambassador, I know that would bring on more hell than it's worth, and that's definitely that's the last hostage. If no other hostage makes it out of that fucking bank alive, she's right there alive. So I get that from the whole scope of TV, but oh my gosh, I'm like, can you just put a bullet through her head? And
Oh
I
shit.
know
That was
again
real
that
serious,
goes
Eddie.
back to what do you say? What does that say about me? I just character like the psychopath who spent his whole life in a fucking North Korean prison camp. So who looks so smooth and suave and handsome, but is deadly as fuck. Yeah, that just tells you what again, assume what you want about me from that, having said that. But yeah, that girl, she was annoying. So since you, like I said, since you can't kill her, can we just lock her up in the office to the end of the show? Like, um, because she's just horrible. Um, and also, I agree with you. The director of the bank, he's another outside to bleed out on the sidewalk.
Let them take him. Well, they couldn't let
Yeah,
him
but
take him because he saw their faces.
he would have told too much.
Because he would have snitched real quick. I think it's on just how horrible he is. Like I would disagree on compare when Me Sun. I would think it's a big difference between Me Sun falling for him and Me Sun falling for Denver. Denver's only flaw is the fact that he's part of the robber crew. But other than that, like he would be a great guy compared to Chow Young Min, who has shown that he has a fucked up personality. He's an asshole. He's a bastard. He's selfish. He's a jealous, selfish asshole at that, compared to Denver, who is just a dimwit. I'm gonna disagree with you. I think Denver is a dimwit, but he's a sweet guy, and I think that's what works for him is that he is a sweet guy, but he probably got hit in the head too much, and so he ain't got that many brain cells.
Or maybe he that's my little idiot. Like he just thought that was his name, little moron.
So he decided to live up to that name. I don't know, but he's not the brightest bulb in the pack.
No, he's definitely not. But he's not as stupid as people. When I wasn't trying to say he was Einstein.
He don't know nothing. He thought. Let's go back to how he chose his name, Eddie. He said. he said. Okay. I'm gonna choose Denver because it's near the Rocky Mountains, and Rocky was my favorite movie. Boom, 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 boom. Started punching. For the professor to correct him and be like, you do know that movie was made in Philadelphia, right? And he's like, Philadelphia. Yeah, that name's too long. I'm gonna go with Denver. That's a fucking idiot. Okay. He's an idiot.
Okay, so let me rephrase. He's a lovable idiot who has potential. He's a good guy. Okay, but so maybe his good guy qualities was, yeah.
Yeah, he's a sweet guy, but he is an idiot. But he is a completely different guy than the director. And I think that she's upgraded a lot in falling for him. Now, Stockholm Syndrome definitely is real, and she's feeling it because he's treating her with respect. But I think that a lot of the hostages are feeling like that about the robbers, even though they have them working, everything like that. That's one thing that the professor said. We have to treat them humanely, because at the end of this is about public opinion. And so I think that has definitely worked to their advantage, where they started to like speak very highly, especially like when Tokyo took over. They spoke very highly of her, and that was a great thing because they saw the contrast. Like, so when Berlin came back, he set his role very, very quick. But then they could also look to Tokyo and be like, but at least we know she'll be good to us. So like they'll rein him in because they've done it before. Like that's the reason why he disappeared for a minute. But the director, I hated him. I think that he is a horrible, horrible human being. And he will do whatever he needs to do for himself. And his assistant director said it, like, you're selfish. What are you going to do now to hurt us again? And every single decision that he made was about saving himself. Like even putting Anne's life in danger for it. And was kind of like, well, they'll never do anything to you. But you're not thinking about her, like you weren't thinking about her life or the hostages. You're just thinking about saving yourself, not to get back to your wife, just because, you don't want to die. So fuck everybody else who died. So I just think he's a horrible, horrible human being. But I also think he serves a purpose just like Berlin does. He serves a purpose. There has to be a character that you absolutely hate. And I don't know one person that liked that character. Like there was an absolute hate. Like there's no question about it. 100% he's the most hated character on the show.
And that says something where you automatically think a show about anti-heroes, because in this case, the the robbers, the thieves, they are the lead. You know, this is their show, so um, it makes them the anti-heroes. And even when you have someone, and um, he and Berlin are almost like two sides of the same coin, except you know Berlin is always going to be honest with you about his motives and what he's doing. And you may not agree with it, but you understand it. Like you said, he serves a purpose. And again, say what you want. What does it say about me that he is my favorite character? That I love Berlin. Um, you know, and he's not the actor. He's not bad looking either. He is not a bad looking dude. I, I think, but uh, so, but the director, whereas Berlin's always going to be honest with you about his duplicity or about what he's doing and why he's doing it, and doesn't care necessarily what he's going to tell you. Look, I'll be the bad guy. This is why this has to be done. You know, this is why I wanted her dead. Not necessarily that it had to be her, but at this point, whatever hostage got caught doing what she did, they were going to have to die to prove a point. Um, so, and again, I don't know if it was, and the only thing he miscalculated is that, hey, that the director had some type of people that he was less of a narcissist, where that death would have really affected him, because it shows you that he didn't love her and he didn't care about anybody else, because his quote unquote love of his life, his almost baby mama, the one that he was going to leave his wife for as soon as they got out of the bank. As soon as he thought she was dead, he still went back to scheming. And he took like a couple of hours off, and then he was still trying to plot about how to get them out of there and stuff like that. You know, but I agree with you. The director is horrible. I could have punched him in the face. So if I had a choice between who should take a bullet right between the eyes, him and the teenage girl. Like I said, we already know the director is fully expendable.
Wow.
I know my darkness is coming out, huh?
Definitely.
Why didn't you like The Negotiator?
Okay. It's gonna be a very vain reason. I can't stare at her for too long because of her plastic surgery. Which throws me off, because I've seen her act in other things. And so I know she has some acting ability. She's not one of my favorite actresses in Korea, but she definitely can act. But it's that, and also, like, I don't know, I'm like, they're trying to show it like, oh, she's really strong, but you know, she finally found this person that she could be really vulnerable with, you know. But I just couldn't buy into it, like, because you're really, really strong, but the only person, like, let's get into her story. So she's really, really strong, right? But the only person that ever saw your husband abuse you, who you have testified, is your mother, who has Alzheimer's. Like, you are not even willing to admit that your mother has Alzheimer's or dementia, however that works, because I can never tell the difference. But your mom has dementia. And so she's forgetting everything. But you need her to testify in your case. You mean to tell me nobody else has ever seen your husband abuse you? Or the fact of, like, you're willing for your husband to sell a certain story and you don't speak up for yourself. Like, how, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like there's missing elements to her. And like, because they tell us she's strong, or she tells us she's strong, we're automatically supposed to believe that she's strong. Rather than like showing us that real strength. I don't see it. I do not see it. I think it's more of acting like she's strong than actually being that way. So there's just like certain parts of the show where I was just like rolling my eyes when she was supposed to be like on top of it, and I'm just like, okay. I was like, yeah, whatever. so I wasn't fully sold on her storyline, on her story, on her character development. Like I wasn't sold on that. So because of that, she's just not a character I'm rooting for. I'm not rooting for her to win against the professor. Not to say the professor is that high up on my list either, but I'll definitely take him winning over her. So she hasn't brought me to the side where I'm cheering for her to win.
I'm not necessarily cheering for her to win either. Obviously, on this show, good guy, bad guy. Um, but I agree with you in some aspects. I kind of get where she's coming from, because I think as her being able to leave, finally getting up the courage to leave, one of the most powerful men in Korea, because they tell it. We knew he was a politician. We knew he had money, but it gives you an idea of just how powerful he is. There are two parts. The first one is when they were talking in the news about him being on the short list to run for president. So it's like, oh, okay. And so she and that really all she left that relationship with was her career. Um, and it's so for women to have suffered that type of abuse, it does take a lot for them to leave. So I guess that's where her, and a lot of it, I agree with you. I think at this point it is projected because once she left, she knew what everyone was saying about her career. It's like, oh, you just have this job because of who your husband was, not because of how you were good at it. All you got this divorce was your career. That was the deal you made with your husband. So she does have all these walls around her where, I guess that's what we're supposed to see is that okay. And on the surface, she looks like this. We really see that she's falling apart, and the professor is slowly chipping down those walls, breaking down those barriers. And I'm thinking, just from glimpses of him, that he wasn't expecting to start feeling for her, wasn't expecting to actually start caring for her, that she was a mark. So I do get that. I'm not particularly her biggest fan either. Um, and I can't really pinpoint why she's not one of my favorite characters. I guess I'm more ambivalent towards her, than anything. Um, she serves a purpose, and I understand her purpose. But I guess from the grand scheme of I'm taking on that the should originally had. She's just a pawn in this game. She's just a chess piece on the board to be moved. So um, I do think that's interesting. The other part that lets us know just how crooked and shady and how powerful her husband is, and also lets us know why the professor chose this particular woman, is that the professor was part of the reason he helped develop the economic system because in uh, North Korea and South Korea are on the verge of reunifying, and they're starting off by testing out their currency and seeing how they can unify economically before they bring the countries together. And there's just one particular the two countries, I guess, is what we would call now the demilitarized zone, where they turned it into an area where you're free to go across. So that's the whole thing. And her husband is the one who comes to the professor who has them work on creating the economic system. So it's going to be interesting, I think, in part two, we'll get to see exactly just how shady and corrupt her husband truly is and what the professor's motivation is, why the professor to turn, like what made him, why they're doing this. Like, and so I'm really interested to see that. But I kind of knew that there had to be more to her husband than just him being an abusive person. Um, I had the feeling a bigger part in all of this than just him being her asshole of an ex-husband. Um, now I gosh, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I didn't really about the North Korean police chief or detective or whatever he is, the inspector team leader. Something about him doesn't sit right with me. I know he kind of, I get the feeling that he's kind of catching feelings for the negotiator. With that, did you get that sense?
No.
Oh, okay. I kind of got this. I
I
know. I
got the
kind of
sense
got
that
this.
he's starting to trust her, but actual romance, I don't necessarily get that feeling. But I'm also a little pessimistic because I didn't get the chemistry of any of the so-called like couples or anything like that within on the show. But but yeah, no, I got it more on him starting to trust her more than a romance brewing or him falling for her.
Yeah, I mean, there's something there, and maybe it's friendship, maybe it's the trust, but there's something to feel something for her. So will put it in the question mark category, whether it's romance or just that overall sense of trust. But I also, I don't know. Something tells me he's a little bit more shady than he too. I don't quite trust him yet. But I so
You're
um
not supposed to trust him. He's from North Korea.
see, I was trying to leave that part out.
No,
But
it's you can tell by the characters. So if you look at the characters, they're very distinct. Now, first of all, of course, this is a South Korean show, but they're very, very distinct. There's a certain image and a certain persona that they're putting out there about people who are from North Korea compared to the people that are from South Korea. They're also putting in the stereotypes that both countries have of each other. Um, I think partly like Berlin showed this on the reason why he separated because that was very smart of him. It made people may see that as being very evil, but at the same time, it was a very, very smart move because the one thing that you can do, that humans always follow that kind of pattern. When you separate them and you tell them one group is inferior to another group, or you just let them kind of go on that inferiority or dominance, they will always fall into that trap. Majority of the time, those groups will fall into that trap. And you saw that when he separated them between North Korea and South Korea, and they started to fall into that trap themselves because it's 70 years of y'all being separated and hearing the most negative things about the other side. So I think like him acting like that, Tokyo, Berlin, like they're acting like that because they're North Korean, and that is the persona that they want to push out there. And it works.
yeah, but even the way he did separate them was genius. But even more genius than just him separating them is how he doled out the punishment. Like if the group from North Korea, South Korea would get punished, and if the group from South Korea messed up, then the North Koreans would get punished. So it wasn't just punishing each other in your group. So that also, because it's like, hey, the more you mess up and the more we get punished, the more we're going to turn on you. It's interesting that they really haven't. The only person that they've really turned on, like they've done a great job at this point. It's, um, aside from the beginning where they were initially separated, they've done a good job at this point to make the director in line because he's the one who keeps fucking it up for everybody. So I agree with you on that. What else was I gonna say? There was something else. All right. So, is there anything you're like, going to watch part two? Let me ask you that
Yes,
because you're
I will.
interested to see how it ends, or like it's piqued your interest that much, or just because.
Partly piqued my interest, but also just because it's really, really hard for me to like start a Korean show and not finish it. So I will finish it. Now, will I watch it as soon as it is out? I don't know. I can't guarantee that I'll watch it as soon as it comes out and as soon as it's released. Part two is released, but I will watch part two. And I am also interested in I guess I'm more interested in how the heist turns out, and who ends up losing. I think is where some of the interest would be is who's gonna ultimately lose in this whole big scheme, um, rather than wanting to see like the different characters or anything like that.
Yeah. And picking up on one thing that you said, I remember what I was going to say. Yeah, I didn't buy the whole Rio Tokyo thing. Like, I know in the original, I don't remember if they have the same names or not, but there was this kind of unrequited off on back and forth type thing. But she does realize that she actually cares for him. But I don't know. Rio just, and maybe it was the whole opposites attract type thing. But um, I guess out of the bank robbers, I understood Rio's purpose and I liked his purpose, but he, I don't know. I guess I need to see the more mature, grown up part of Rio in the second part where he goes, okay, I'm done acting like a kid now. Like he realized at one point that this was no longer about him just rebelling against his father. He couldn't keep acting that way. So I think I want to see, before I'm Tokyo, I need to see the new and improved Rio. But that,
Is
my
there going to
mind
be
is
a new
all
and
over.
improved Rio? Because I think that he was a very, very childish. I don't think that he grew at all. I think that he just kind of fell more for Tokyo, and that was not even sold to me. I'll be honest. The closest romance that was sold to me was Denver and Misun. Like other than that, like the professor and the negotiator, no. I didn't see the chemistry. I didn't feel the chemistry. As I'm watching the show, I didn't get the chemistry between those two characters. I also see no chemistry between Tokyo and Rio. And I don't know if it's how Rio is acting, so we're just automatically supposed to want them together just because, that they're ultimately going to end up together or try to end up together. But I wasn't sold on that either. I think that he's extremely immature and has not like grown up. And I don't like, I'm like, I would need them to have a real conversation because he takes everything that he has for granted, all because your parents made you go to medical school, forced you to go to medical school. Well, I understand. Your father was probably an asshole your whole life. But he's like from the ultra rich of South Korean society. And then you have Tokyo that is from the ultra poor of North Korean society. Military, like even that, I feel like they haven't really shown the military skills that they showed in the beginning as the storyline has gone on. Like, her military skills has just been a side character compared to Berlin. Like Berlin, okay, like you get that he was in a prison camp, he had to fight for himself, but like they make it seem like Tokyo is weak when in the beginning you showed us like she's not weak, like she's willing to fight to the death, but she hasn't shown that since we saw her backstory. Like I haven't felt that. I haven't seen a scene really of that since we got her backstory. So with all of that, I just don't feel no chemistry between them whatsoever. Like there's no romance chemistry whatsoever.
Yeah, like I agree with you. I hope we get more of Tokyo's badassness in the second part. But I also get the feeling that trying to downplay, like it's something that she left behind. Like there's a reason why she why she purposely doesn't showcase those skills, and I'd be interested to see what it is. They have a conversation. I agree with you. I think at this point we were supposed to want them together because because Rio obviously had this puppy cute crush, or but so I'm just taking his words where he told her specifically, I'm done acting like a child now. I hope that we get to see something that will make it more palpable, make us want it more, to make us understand that they are potential end game. Because at this point, not even being trapped in. So I'm with Tokyo. It's like, yeah, okay. I mean, you're fine. I like you as a teammate. I like you because we're here. But it's not like, oh, because when he said, I want to buy a with you, and she looked at him, I'm like, dude, really? Like, what vibe has she given you that is even possible besides something as platonic, if even that much? Like, you get the feeling that she just likes him, or she's just there because she has to be. Like, she doesn't even much. So hopefully we'll see that they'll grow and develop. And I agree with you on the professor and the negotiator. Again, maybe it's because I think the closest we came to seeing that the professor had or could be developing real feelings for her was at the very end where she was talking about why she thought she was going to get fired. So I think the more that she starts to allow herself or open up to him, it's kind of like wow, you know. So that was the part. Okay, so what would you rate this first part of Korea Heist, Korean Money Heist Korea? Excuse me.
I'm gonna rate it a 2.5. Yeah, 2.5 popcorns is what I'm going to give it. I'm not gonna say the acting is bad. It's not. It's on par with some really great actors. I've seen other shows that the actor who plays the professor is in. He's good. And the other characters have shown up here and there. So I'm gonna give it a 2.5. Like, I hope there's some improvement, but like I said before, I didn't love it. I'm not invested in any character. I'm not truly invested in the storyline. I do kind of want to see how they're able to really pull it off and who ultimately has to take the fall. But overall, like, I'm just not fully invested in the show. But like I said, I will be watching part 2 to see how it ends. What about you?
I give it a 3.25. I enjoyed it a little bit more than you did. Like I said, some characters I could take or leave. Obviously, I've talked about putting a bullet through several people's heads. So I channeled my inner Borderland in my Money Heist, but I liked it, and it was constantly thinking, oh, this happened in the first one, this happened in the original, or how it compared to the original versus just the overall theme or idea of the show. So I think that is also I think that is a true telling that it's standing on its own. If you can watch a remake and not consistently, especially something that was so new and so fresh, and not compared original, constantly compared to its original version. I do look forward to the second part and seeing how they're able to pull this off, and as they pull away some of the layers on some of the other characters, how they exactly.
We didn't even talk about the heist at all.
No, we didn't, which is a brilliant going back. The heist itself is brilliant. Like, the professor's a mastermind.
You should watch it. You can watch it for that, but we were more focused on like the character development and everything, which is good.
Yeah, but the heist is it's a thing of beauty if they can actually pull it off. Like, I would love to be able to see how that's going to happen. So, anything else to add?
I do want to say one more thing about I feel that the backstory of how Korea kind of becomes one was very, very weak. And we're just, it's kind of like you're just supposed to excuse it and just move on from it. But being a history buff that I am, it annoyed me so much because I was like, that was complete bullshit on the backstory of how Korea becomes reunified. Complete bullshit. But which annoyed me only because, I'm about history. But other than that, I think if you just want to see like a good heist movie and just kind of see how plans come together and break apart, but then figuring out, all the different possibilities. If you like one thing that came to mind was like the Inside Man. No, Inside Job. Wait, what's the name of it? With Clive Owens and Denzel Washington.
Inside Man.
Inside Man. Okay, thank you. Like that automatically came to my mind on the Inside Man. It was a deeper meaning than what they were leading us to believe. And I think the same thing goes for Money Heist. There's a deeper meaning to how the plan comes together than what we're originally supposed to believe. And so if you like those kinds of storylines, I think you'll enjoy it. So I'm talking to like our audience. They'll definitely enjoy it if they like those kinds of shows.
Yeah, you're right. It does have a very Inside Man, Usual Suspects type of vibe to it.
Yeah.
If you like those two movies, you would definitely love the show. Like I said, it's a bit of a slow burn. It is a little bit more drama heavy. There are some action scenes, so don't go into it just expecting full on action. Um, Throughout the show. Again, it kind of follows the pacing a little bit of the original Money Heist. If you watch the original Money Heist, then I would definitely say give this a chance. I think you would like it. It keeps some of those same elements, but it also has its own identity. So, yeah, I stick by my 3.25 for part one, and I am looking forward to part two. Um, Definitely, because it ended on, kind of like, I guess they kind of did it like Lupin, except on this one, it doesn't tell you Money Heist will return. It just kind of ends. And I had to go to the internet to be like, is there a part two? Because, Netflix, they good for that. And then talking about, oh, we canceled it.
Hey,
I'm
they
like,
finally gave you your movie for
I know.
Ninja Assassin. Okay, they gave you two movies.
I have two Ninja Assassin movies.
I believe so. I believe there's two of them on Netflix.
Oh shit, I need to go find the other one. All right. So look, you learn something new every day. You kind of made my day. Gotta go. Okay, so that does it for this week's episode of the Popcorn Wind Down. Tammy's going to do a better job of screening our sponsors before we end up in a federal prison here.
I guess we're going to
Please
federal
be,
prison.
huh?
Nothing. Go ahead.
I'm too cute for prison. Okay, I can't be Bertha's bitch. Please let me stop. Please be sure to listen, like, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and or iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also keep up to date on the latest in entertainment and pop culture news, as well as other amazing kernels of pop culture goodness at thepopcornwinddown.com. The Daily Wind Down has made its official return. Check it out. That's it. That's the plug. Pop, 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 pop. Thank you as always, and be sure to join us next week when we discuss. I'm excited about this one. Ryan Reynolds and Chris Evans. Whew. And The Gray Man. Are you excited?
This was your pick, so we'll see.
I te- See, gosh. Anyway, I'm excited about The Gray Man. It will be on Netflix. Anyway, until next time, I'm Eddie.
And I'm Tammy. Bye.
Peace.